If you have said to yourself, I should write that, or if someone has said to you, you should write that, then I'm talking to you because you need to write. And that's why you're tuned in to yWrite. Today's program is brought to you by CRS, Complete Restoration Solutions, for fire, smoke, water, and mold damage. CRS provides home and business owners with professional and quality services to restore their property to their pre-loss condition as quickly as possible. Family owned and operated out of Chicopee, Massachusetts, CRS is your complete restoration solution. They are available 24 hours at mycrsinc.com. Hi, welcome back to yWrite. I'm Angela Grout, and today my guest is going to be the youngest guest I've ever had on the show. And she began writing a novel in 3rd grade. I worked at the Agawam Flower Shop. I own the Agawam Flower Shop, and one day I had a customer come in and saw that I wrote a book. And he was telling me that his daughter, who was in 3rd grade at the time, was writing a book. And he wanted to know how I went about getting it published. So I began to tell him. And recently I ran into him and he told me that she got her book published. She is now in 8th grade. She had her book published before the age of 13, professionally edited, and now it's on Amazon. So today I'm excited to speak with the author who writes under the pen name S.D. Izzo. And we're going to find out how she wrote her book, why she wrote her book, and what's going on with her next writing bit. So I want to welcome to the show on yWrite, Samantha Izzo. Hi, Samantha.
Hi.
How are you? Thanks for coming.
Good. Thank you for having me.
Do you go by Samantha or Sam?
Sam.
Hi, Sam. So, this is our first time meeting, which is very exciting. We've spoken a few times. And, your father coming into the flower shop telling me you were writing a book and you were in 3rd grade.
Yeah.
Why and how did you start writing a book?
When I was in 3rd grade, I'd started reading all these fantasy novels and gotten really into reading, and I wanted to try and create my own book, and I just had all these ideas in my head, and I wanted to put them on paper.
So did you outline your characters, or did you just start writing?
Most of my characters are based off of people that I know. Like, one of the main characters in the book is based primarily off of my sister. So my characters were kind of already outlined for me. I already had the idea of how I wanted them to be, and I just started writing.
Wow, that's awesome. Is your sister proud that she's one of the characters in your book? And the book has characters with superheroes. With superpowers. Yeah, so that's really cool. This is the book here, and it's the tale of Animagee. Animagee. I'm so sorry. I knew I was going to say that wrong. I told her my daughter's name is Maggie, so I wanted to say that. But Animagee. And I just want to read the back of this because I think the audience is, want to know what the book is about, but I really want to talk to you more about why. It's about 4 siblings. 4 siblings just trying to live their best high school lives. It's always been them. No parental guidance. They were fine with that. Until, that is, they discovered some of their powers. Invisibility, telepathy, and shape-shifting. It's difficult enough to be a teenager, never mind the superpowers. Will they be discovered? Find out in this crazy adventure filled with wicked caretakers, evil doctors, mysterious old ladies, and an epic Sweet 16 party. So wow, you're in 3rd and 4th grade writing this. And you are thinking about evil doctors and Sweet 16 parties and these superpowers of shape-shifting. How does your imagination take you there?
I was really into fairy tale stuff at the time, probably in 3rd grade. Harry Potter, Divergent, Hunger Games, all of those kind of fantastical novels. Mm-hmm. And, of course, the Marvel movies. And I really wanted to create characters that had superpowers, but also were relatable, to which they were, like, still having an in-school and sibling fights and that kind of thing.
Well, it's good that you keep those superheroes in school.
Yeah.
But, so you're coming home from school and you're writing this in your room. Are you writing this on paper with a pen, or are you typing it into your computer?
In third grade, I don't think I had my own personal computer yet, so I was just writing. I'd bring a notebook to school, and whenever I had free time, I'd write in that. And then when I got home, I'd continue writing. But when I was in 4th and 5th grade and still writing it, I kind of transferred it over to my computer, and I found that was just a lot easier for me.
Wow. I mean, that is the mind of a writer right there. Carrying around the notebook to like write down your ideas when you have them. And to know that you have that talent and that gift and you're nurturing it at that age is phenomenal. I can only imagine where you're going to go from here.
Thank you.
So at what point did you decide to share this with people and say, I really want to get this published? Like, I want to share this with other people. It's not just a story that you were writing for yourself.
In 6th grade, when I had finished it and I was just editing it, I had a couple of my closer family members read it, and my sister had read it and she had really enjoyed it. And so she also shared it with some of her friends, and that was kind of the targeted age it was for, like ages 8 to 13. And she was in, I think, 4th grade at the time, and her friends had really enjoyed it, and I wanted to just be able to share it with more people.
And how old are you at this point?
I'm 14 right now.
No, how old were you then?
Oh, I was 6th and 7th grade. I think I was 11 and 12.
Okay, so you're younger than your sister.
Older.
You're older than your sister.
Yeah.
Okay, I have to put the timeline together. So they're reading this, but you've written it when you were younger. So very, it's just amazing to me. So, as you know, I've written a couple books too, and I've used my name, Angela Grout, on a few of them, but I have written a murder mystery that I've used AM Grout. And when I saw that you wrote your book with SD Izzo, I was like, I wonder why she's doing that, because SD Izzo, I don't know. Like, is it a man? Is it a woman? What is it? Why did you decide to go with your initials?
So when we were researching, like, the publishing aspect of the book, it was made known to us that a lot of men don't like reading books under women's names, and you get more publicity if it's under like a neutral pen name. Mm-hmm. So that's why we chose. Yeah,
and being a book for middle school children, like, you want boys to read this too.
Yeah.
And you're right, because if it was to say Samantha, I mean, market shows they may not be going towards it, but SD, you could have went with Sam. I mean, Sam could be neutral either way, but you and I both did the initials, and I was like, we have so much in common, understanding that part of the market and understanding that the book is for everybody.
Yeah.
So, that's really great. I really am just amazed that you started so young and jealous in a way, because here I didn't start writing until my 20s, and even sharing, like having that little notebook in your back pocket and writing down ideas. I mean, I've done that forever, and obviously you've done that much longer, but taking the ideas and sitting down, penning them on paper. When you take those notebook ideas, are you just free flow writing, or do you map it all out?
When I was younger, I used to just free write and just put in different scenes that I wanted and just continue to write the story. When I got older, there were some scenes that didn't make sense with the story, so I had to like take some out or rewrite some. So it got harder as I got older, because I needed to have the story make sense and I couldn't just write whatever I wanted.
Did you find it hard to, as they say, I don't like this term, but like kill your darlings? You spend so much time creating a specific scene or something and then saying, oh no, that doesn't work, you have to take it out. It's hard, huh?
Yeah.
I find, I don't know if you do this, sometimes if I take it out, I'll put it in a little file saying someday maybe I'll use it in something else, because you spend a lot of time doing it. So, now, the book itself, putting it together, formatting it and making sure your margins are right and making sure you pick out the proper font and the size. Did you do all that yourself?
It was already done on Google Docs, because that's where I typed it all up. And then we just kind of copied and pasted it into the Amazon. So it wasn't that hard to do the font and the size and the margins.
And how did you feel when you get that first proof copy?
Well, when we got it in the mail, I was really, really excited to read it.
Yeah.
And just make sure everything was right.
Right. Because, you get it, you're excited, then you're like, okay, I got to check all the pages and make sure everything is where it's supposed to be. So, it's so exciting to get that first proof in the mail, and you're like, okay, this is it. I'm holding the tangible copy of something that was an idea in your head, and now it's manifested. As you know, this show is geared for, people who have a story in them, because who doesn't? We all have a story in them, whether it's fictitious or it's their memoir. And, everyone's like, oh, I should write that. I want to write a book. Or, oh, I have the greatest novel in my head. If only I could get it on paper. And, I think, you could share a little bit of like how you actually do it. I mean, simple enough. I think I know what you're going to say. But, how would you advise someone to say, this is how you start writing a book?
Well, you really need to push yourself to be able to get it onto paper. And it's a lot easier once you start writing to continue to finish it. And sometimes you get writer's block and you just don't want to write. But if you use just different writing prompts and just really get yourself being creative and just continue to write, it's a lot easier.
And do you use writing prompts?
Sometimes if I'm stuck and I just need a break from the actual book and just need to be able to write, I like to use little writing prompts just to try and be creative.
Yeah, get the pen flowing.
Yeah.
And I know what you mean, because sometimes you do need to take a break of what you're working on and say, okay, I'm going to just, write this story right now just to kind of get it out, and then it comes back to the work. There's many times I know, even when I'm writing, like the days that I've scheduled my time to write, I will sometimes, if I didn't want to write, I will just start the pen with, I really didn't want to write today, but I'm sitting in the seat and I'm going to start writing, and, just keep repeating that until all of a sudden, you like wake up that, part of your brain and the muses, and you can start actually going with it. So see, it's you're 14 years old and you already know all of these things. So you're still writing.
Yeah.
And what are you working on now?
Right now I'm working on a sequel to the book because it kind of ends on a cliffhanger. Oh. So I wanted to be able to continue to write and make sure everybody knows how their story ends.
Ah, very nice.
Yeah.
And about how far are you into this project?
I think I'm about 100 or so pages into it. I'm planning on it being a little bit longer than the first one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And how many pages is this? I should know.
Just a little over 200.
Yeah, so, that's a big undertaking for sure. Do you have a specific time of day that you like to write?
Not generally. I just like to write when I can. Usually, sometimes it's better at night because it's after sports and practices and stuff, and I can just really get into writing and not focus on anything else.
What do you play for sports?
I do softball, soccer, and basketball.
Oh, wow. So you're busy.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of creativity in you, a lot of talent in you. That's great. And, the more mobile that you are physically, it can come out on the paper, too, because, you get that energy flowing. So you're in school. You're in 8th grade?
Yeah.
And do you share not this book, but the book you're working on? Like, do you ever share chapters in school now, or do you use it for assignments, or is that totally on your own time?
Totally on my own time. I don't really share. I share it sometimes with my family or one of my closest friends she likes writing. Mm-hmm. So sometimes I just get her advice on it and like to see what's people's thoughts are on it, but not usually for school. Yeah,
it's you kind of need to keep that baby quiet in a little contained bubble until you're ready, because you can get a lot of opinions. Definitely. And that's one thing that I found talking to a lot of writers, is that inner critic starts to get louder when you hear outer critics start talking. And when the outer critics aren't there, you're just like, okay, I'm going to do this way and then worry about it later. Oh, so I love the fact that your book is purple. Did you pick that for any reason?
Purple is my favorite color, and there were a lot of different covers on Amazon. They provided a lot of different colors and fonts, so I really liked that one, and I thought it fit the book.
Yeah, I mean, it's very kind of magical illusion. Of course, purple is our highest color and connects us to the source. So I was like, oh, that's just such a creative color to have in such a fantasy world, which maybe not be so fantasy, right? I mean, we are shapeshifters. You're shifting yourself from sports to studies to writing to being, a sister and a daughter. So we do all that, not always as invisible as we want to be. But, sorry, I have all my little cue cards here, and I have to cheat. But as I told her earlier, I need to wear glasses to see them. So even though they're in front of me, it doesn't matter. So when you're writing this book that you're working on, and I know you can't probably share the title except for that it's like part 2 or the sequel, do you know how many chapters it's going to be? Do you have like a specific of how many pages you like a chapter to be?
I usually keep a chapter between 10 to 15 pages. I like to end chapters on a cliffhanger, usually just to make sure they continue reading like to the next chapter and just want to read more. But usually 10 to 15 pages a chapter, and this book I'm pretty sure it's 13 chapters, so I'm trying to get the next one to be 20 or so.
Oh wow, so you're gonna almost double it up.
Yeah.
Nice. Did you have a hard time naming characters?
Not really. Sometimes for the less important characters, but still there, I didn't really know what to name them. But in third grade, I didn't really have a lot of, I don't know, I just took different names of people.
Your four main characters are Jake, Jess, Connor, and Izzy.
Yeah.
And you know, Izzo is your last name. So
yeah.
Did you, obviously we're taking your last name and putting it into a character?
Yeah, it's just short. It's short for Isabella. And I know a lot of characters, like if they're named Isabella, they like to have Bella as their nickname, but I wanted it to be something a little bit different to stand out. So I did Izzy.
So you put a lot of thought into this.
Yeah.
A lot of thought for sure. What was your favorite part about writing?
I like writing all the different action scenes. There's not a lot in this book, but there's still a couple. But also the character development, I like writing a lot because you see the characters at first, and sometimes they don't really know what they're doing or who they are. And then you see them at the end of the book, and they're a lot more comfortable in their own skin and a lot more emotional and sensitive to other people.
So you evolved with the characters.
Yeah.
As you're developing them, you're also probably finding out what they are, and finding out who they are. I mean, when you started out, you knew a little bit more of who they were before they knew who they were. Correct. Yeah. And we tend to do that. But did you find a lot of things surprising, like where you thought, oh, I really want this character to be like this, and then it changed?
Yeah, definitely.
That's a good little surprise, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. So your book is available on Amazon. Do you do book talks?
I've never done an actual interview like this. There was a book signing that I did about a year ago at the Dante Club, but that's the closest I've ever come to.
And have you done a public reading of a chapter or anything? No? Would you do that?
Yeah, I would.
I think that would be really great.
Yeah.
And even to be able to go to, whether, it's at a library, where the kids are there, but even going into maybe a English class at a school or something like that. It'd be great if you could get your, some English classes in school or literature classes to read it and do some reports on it. How would you feel about that?
I would definitely like to do that, like a public reading, even if it's just at like an elementary school, just so they can see if there's that one kid that really wants to write, she or he can see what it takes to do it. Yeah,
I mean, she's 14 years old, everyone. And, we put off our own dreams of writing a book because we say, procrastination, or we don't know where to start, or we don't know exactly what we're going to write, or who will think about what we're going to write, like what they're going to think and be judged. And, here it takes the courage of, I'm going to call you a child, because as a child, I mean, in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, you're writing this with, just saying, I don't care, I want to write this story. And now here you are, confident as a 14-year-old, saying, yeah, I'm proud of what I did, I'm going to keep doing. And obviously you have the gift and the talent to do this. And more importantly, the passion. Because, it's one thing to be able to do something. It's another thing when you love to do it. And obviously you love to do it. So I'm really glad that you came on the show today.
Thank you.
I feel like I have a lot more questions I want to talk to you about writing. But I think, the biggest thing, because this show is called yWrite, is, why did you start writing?
As I said before, I was really inspired by all the different books I was reading, and I wanted to be able to create my own story and say, I had done this and I can do this. And I loved being able to write and see the different characters and them going through their journey, and just being able to write all the different scenes that I wanted to.
So you could have full control.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people, will say they're writing because they had extra time on their hands. You definitely didn't have extra time on your hands. You were very busy, but you found the time to do it. Oh, amazing. Well, her book is available on Amazon, correct? And you want to tell us the title again and how we can go about finding out more information about the book?
It is titled Tale of the Animagee, and you can find it on Amazon. It's written by S.D. Izzo.
And And that's it. And then any idea when the sequel might be done?
I don't really have a set date right now. I'm still working on it, and it's going to take a bit.
Well, this took, 3 years?
Yeah.
3 years to write, and then a little extra time to get the publishing and stuff, because it's hard to figure out the publishing part of it. And as I've said to you and your father and to many people, the universe opens when you're ready. And, the day that your dad came in to buy flowers, I believe, for Valentine's Day or an anniversary for your mom, when he had mentioned that, he was interested, I think, to publish this for you because you had been working so hard on it. Like, let's get her a hard copy so she can hold it in her hands and be proud of this. And, when you meet a fellow author who has gone through the publishing part and they can kind of guide you along and say, oh, this is how I did it. And if it works for you, then great. And obviously, the advice that I gave him, he followed through with it, and it really paid off for you. So I'm glad to be a little part of the stepping stone in your process.
Definitely.
And I can't wait to see the next book. So again, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. And that is our episode of yWrite today. And I hope that you have learned something today, not just about how brave Samantha Izzo is to have written a book at a young age and published it and to be so articulate to talk about her book now, but about how courageous you can be to sit down with a pen and paper and start writing your story too. I want to thank Studio 954 for making this show possible. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Complete Restoration Solutions. And I want to thank our guest, Samantha, for coming into the studio today and giving us some time. So at this point of the show, this is the time where I'm going to give you a prompt because, you need to write. That's why we're here. So let's start writing. So pick up a pen and set a timer for about 10 minutes and start writing. And you know what? Create a character. Think about someone in your life who could have a superpower and start telling us about it. And start off with their name. Samantha, my friend, has the superpower of, and keep going with that. Thanks for joining yWrite. Have a great day. See you next time.